Hello everybody, it's Galaxy, and I also have with me,
Crazy wavy baby.
we're going over the new card showcase for the brand new Into the Pit set. So we're going to be showing off all the new cards and also giving a analysis on how well they think they're going to do in the new meta, and see how wrong we are, like about a week or two, once actually everyone starts getting to play with these cards. So these cards should generally go live in probably about 3 to 4 days after this video is released. Maybe sooner, maybe a bit later than that. So let's get into it. Alright, so first things first, we got Ancient Memories Golden, a new Ancient Memories spell. When it's played for prep, you get to choose one of the following effects. Each opponent who cannot draw a card at the start of their next turn loses 10% battery. If you control the unit Spring Bonnie, you get to paralyze all small units within 3 rooms of that unit, or you can deploy a Freddy Tribe unit from your graveyard into your office for 0% battery. So that is the prep effect, very reminiscent of Golden Birthday, how it each had an effect for Golden Freddy, Fredbear, and Spring Bonnie, respectively. This one has a similar vibe too, and the combo effect is similar to all the other Ancient Memories, where, but instead of looking for a specific tribe, it's just looking for Golden Freddy, Spring Bonnie, or Fredbear. This one doesn't come with a penalty if you miss, because the amount of units that you're looking for is a lot more narrow compared to the other Ancient Memories. But yeah. So what is your opinion, Donnie, so far?
I think it would go a little bit cool in Freddy decks. I don't think the small... I think the small unit thing with Spring Bonnie is, like, whatever. I would just say, the Freddy as, like, a second revenge might work out. But that's about it. I don't see this ranking very high. I'd say like a 2-star deck, only experimented in Freddy decks.
Yeah, that's fair. Generally, we'll go, but actually, we'll go over everything once, because this is actually a very short set, and then we'll go back around for the star rankings once we see everything.
Okay. Gotcha.
Nerf Ballora Gallery. This will apply to all summoning rooms, but they're all getting nerfed from 3% less to 2% less. The general reasoning behind this is because the summoning rooms have been a little bit too strong in the game recently. While this will hurt some things that already were not in a good state, there's a lot of, Security Breach, FNAF 2, Bonnie cards that are just seeing an oversaturation in play because their summoning rooms are so good, and the discount is just too good. So, but just for a flat, consistent thing, all summoning rooms are being lowered to 2% battery. Big Bruce. Big Bruce is receiving a rework. He's gained, not a rework, but he's getting a buff. He actually now has a movement stat, and he has an area of attack all, which should be a substantial buff for Timber. Bunny Bowling, Bunny Hideout, new card, Chaos Flame. So, target 1 enemy unit, then spend 5 Dread, 5 Justice, and 1 Sin token, deal 5 damage to the enemy unit. If that unit is destroyed, then the owner of that unit gains 2 burnout counters. In its waste effect, costs 1% less, target 1 enemy unit, deal 1 damage to that unit. If that destroys the enemy unit, you gain 1 token of your choosing.
Cool.
We'll come back to it in a bit. Dreadful Resurrection. 8% spell, costs 10 Dread tokens, deploy a unit from your graveyard for 0% battery in each of your entrance halls. If every unit deployed through this effect was a Bonnie Tribe unit, then gain 5 Dread tokens. In its combo effect, costs 2% less, target 1 Security Breach unit, exile it, then you may search your deck for the unit Burn Trap, reveal it, and add it to your hand. Moving on, Ferocious Spirit, 3%. Target 1 friendly medium unit and have it gain 3 attack. When that unit is destroyed, you may exile the destroyed unit to return this spell to your hand from the graveyard. It comes with an instant effect as well. 5%. Target 1 friendly medium unit and give it an additional turn this unit phase. This spell causes 0% battery if you claim the generator with a Security Breach unit this turn. Longing for You. Preparation 6%. If you control 2 or more sister location units, you may deploy the unit Circus Baby for 0% battery at your entrance halls from your hand or deck. And its combo effect costs 2% less, target a room named Scooping Room. For the rest of the game, that room cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponents. Mask Off. 2% battery. Target one friendly unit and have it lose one of its tribes. That unit also gains 2 attack, and if it attacks an opponent's office, it cannot be blocked. Its instant effect costs 4% battery. Target one friendly pumpkin rabbit you control. It loses the ability Sweet Lure and its Bonnie tribe, but then it gains 5 movement. Mimic You. 3% spell. If you control an Endo tribe unit, you may target a unit in an opponent's graveyard, add a copy of that unit to your hand. It has a counter effect for 5% battery. When a friendly Endo tribe unit is targeted by an enemy unit, you may destroy your friendly to then replace them with a copy of the... destroy your friendly to replace them with a copy of the enemy. So let's say you have blue being attacked by a Nightmare Fredbear. You can activate this card for 5% battery, destroy your blue, and now you control a Nightmare Fredbear. They're still fighting each other, so hopefully the trade is in your benefit when activating it, obviously. For the counter effect. Paper Pals is receiving a nerf to where it can no longer be deployed in the show stage FNAF 2 due to its new Office Pals ability. It must be deployed in the main office because too many of you have gotten away with this for too long. Past Bonnie, our first actual Into the Pit card, or the Into the Pit set. So they all come with one archetypal ability, and then they all share something at the end. So Past Bonnie comes with Angry Rabbit. At the start of combat, if this unit is injured, it deals 3 more damage. And the ability that they're all going to share is the Past You ability. If this unit successfully attacks an enemy's office, then you may look at the bottom card of your deck. If it's a Bonnie Tribe unit, may deploy it for 0% battery in your main office. Ooh. Past Chica, who I will probably update on the art in a bit, has her Dumpster Chaser ability. While this unit is on the field, whenever a player discards a card, this unit gains 1 movement. And she comes with the same Past You ability as Bonnie, but obviously for the Chicas. Past Freddy comes with his March of the Bears, charge 3. This unit gains an additional turn this unit phase. You may also target another friendly Freddy Tribe unit. That unit also gains an additional turn this unit phase. And he comes with the same Past You ability as the others. Peaceful Dreams, 8% battery. This is a big Justice counterpart to the Corrupted Dreams 8% spell card. Preparation, 8%. You cannot play the spell card Corrupted Dreams after you play this spell. If you have played the spell Corrupted Dreams, you cannot play the spell card. Now for the actual what it does, for the rest of the game, whenever a friendly Nightmare unit would destroy an enemy unit, you may instead shuffle them back into their owner's deck and gain 3 Justice tokens, effectively giving all of your Nightmare units the Mercy effect. Additionally, if a friendly Nightmare unit claims the generator, you may convert all Dread tokens you control into Justice token. For each token converted this way, gain 2% battery.
Ooh.
And the big boy Pit Bonnie, a big 9849, who comes with alternate self. This is actually the updated version. I'll go into why when we get back to this later. But yeah. His Temporal Anomaly. If this unit is revealed at the bottom of your deck or drawn from the bottom of your deck, then you may immediately deploy this unit in your main office for its deployment cost. This is the only way to deploy this unit. And then he comes with the standard Golden Victory, like Fredbear does. I'll talk about what's outdated with this PNG in a second when we get back to it. Relocate Project, nerfed by 1%. Remnant Bonnie is making his return as a Beyond-sized unit. Now instead of being just a Dread unit, he is now what we refer to as a Chaos Beyond unit, who uses all 3 token types in their abilities. He comes with Shadow Counter. When this unit will be destroyed or exiled, you may exile a unit with the ability Shadow Body from your hand or deck to prevent its removal. His 2 other abilities, Dark Remnant and Light Remnant, pretty much do the same thing, but just for different Beyond units. So with Dark Remnant, you can target 1 Beyond unit, and you can use any of their Dread abilities for 0 tokens. And for Light Remnant, you can do the same thing, target any 1 Beyond unit, but you get to use any of their Justice abilities for 0 tokens. And as for Chaos Remnant, it takes 3 Dread, 3 Justice, and 1 Sin. If you claim the generator this turn, each opponent loses battery equal to the amount of tokens that they control. And it should be noted that Remnant Bonnie can generate 1 of any type of token at the start of each of his turns. So it's up to the player's choice. Revenge, nerfed by 1%. Shadow Freddy no longer comes with a stacking battery discount, but his base cost has been reduced from 8 to 6. Straight for the Head, a 5% spell card. For this unit phase, all friendly units gain 2 movement, but cannot attack enemy units. Additionally, if a friendly unit attacks an opponent's office, it cannot be blocked. And then the combo costs 2% less. Deploy a unit that costs 8% or less battery from your hand into an opponent's vent for that unit's deployment cost. Take a break. Nerfed by 1. The first, nerfed by 1. Tiny Adventure. 1% spell. Target 1 friendly small unit. Increase its movement by 2. Instant cost 3%. Target 1 friendly small unit. Return that unit to your hand. Then draw 1 card. Toxic Sewer Springtrap, a new 7% large unit. Special delivery. He counts as Toxic Springtrap. He comes with Submerge. And his new abilities that are unique to him are his Toxic Waters. While this unit is on the field, whenever an enemy unit enters a flooded room, they take 1 damage. And his Aquatic Corruption, if this unit claims the generator, then all opponents lose 2% battery for each flooded room. Twisted Abyss, a new domain for the Twisted Animatronics. If this spell is cast, move it to the top of an opponent's graveyard. While this domain is at the top of your graveyard, any card that would cover up this domain is exiled. When a card is exiled by this effect, each opponent may deploy a Twisted Tribe unit from their graveyard into their entrance halls for 1% battery. After exiling 3 cards, this domain must be moved to the top of a different player's graveyard, if possible. This card cannot be placed on its owner's original graveyard. So, how does this work? Basically, you play Twisted Abyss is the first domain that is actually not placed on your own graveyard. You instead move it to an opponent's graveyard. And whenever they send cards to their grave, the Abyss eats it, and you get to deploy Twisted units whenever it eats cards. But it does have a limit. It can only eat 3 cards before it needs to be moved to another opponent's graveyard. So yeah, a bit of a brain turner, this one, but we'll talk more about it once we get back to it. Actually, that's everything. So let's go from the top again to the actual cards that are new, and we'll talk about their viability. Alright, I'll get to that. We'll see that in a second.
You just blew my mind for a second. What the hell?
We'll get back to that in a second. Alright, so now that you have seen everything, Dawn, what is your opinion on Ancient Memories Golden? If it has changed at all?
I don't know. I think even with other units counting as Spring Bonnie, I just don't see viability there.
That's fair. So again, generally the star ranking is a 1-star card is a card that is so bad that it will not see any play whatsoever.
I think it'll see, I'll say a 2-star card, and it'll see Revenge, doubling in Freddy decks.
In Freddy decks, yeah. I would say a 3-star card is for cards that are very middle-of-the-road average, like they are cards that see play in like C-tier decks and whatnot, nothing too popular. A 4-star card is a card that is seen pretty much either every other game or is a part of a B to A tier deck, and then of course a 5-star card is either a card that is seen in every game or is a part of an S tier deck. As for Ancient Memories Golden, I think that this card is definitely... I don't think it's that good. Like even as the person who made it, I don't think it's that crazy good. Off the top of my bat, I don't think that a Golden Freddy deck is still quite here just yet. Even though the battery burn is quite significant from the prep, the Spring Bonnie synergy with the new Pit Bonnie, I do think is potentially there. But just a hot take. I don't think the Pit Bonnie is going to be super strong either. I think he's going to be a fairly reasonable card because. Little thing that we forgot to include here, but Fredbear is being nerfed in this set, and I don't have that with me right now. So Pit Bonnie looks a lot better in comparison to the now 2-movement Fredbear that can't be used in creation materials. But regardless, I still don't think that, even as like a second Revenge, I'd still only say, I'll say 3-star, because No, it's kind of hard to say because Freddy's are a very strong deck. My personal reason for a 3-star is because I think it will be experimented with in Freddy decks and then fall out of favor. I think Freddy decks are generally like an A-tier deck, but I don't think this card's gonna stick the whole landing. Chaos Flame.
All right, Chaos Flame, I think will be very good. I think 2 burnout counters are fucking insane. And I don't know if it's going to be played in just a burnout deck. But generally I think that gaining 2 of them is pretty good. Yeah, that's all I gotta say.
No opinion on the waste effect?
The waste, I think it might be okay. Like, it's like another Embrace Flame, except, you know, it's not as good. I don't know. You gain like 1 token. I might be helpful in like Sin decks. Like, it might be good in like Blobbingtons. I might run it in Blob. I don't know. We'll see.
Chaos Flame in general is, I think that this card's preparation effect is
3 stars.
3 stars?
Yeah.
Okay. And your reasoning behind that is that it's going to be in...
I think it has some use, some viability in Blob, and some viability in just like Chaos, like a new
archetype, yeah.
New archetype.
Chaos Flame is, in general, in my opinion, not one of the strongest cards that is being printed here at all. In my opinion, the main reason why is because the new Chaos Bonnie, or Chaos Remnant Bonnie, is awesome for this card. And I do think that you will play this pretty much in any deck that seriously tries to run the Chaos Engine, because it is a deck that is running... it really likes the waste. I should straight up say the waste is actually, in my opinion, pretty substantial as a mixture of removal and generating the tokens that you need. Because as an archetype that requires 3 different token generations, it's going to be very difficult to get what you want. And having, you know, the waste effect being able to do that for you and then being able to use later is pretty significant. Because we already have an archetype in the game that runs Dread and Justice, and that's Eclipse. And 90% of the time, Eclipse actually doesn't even bother trying to run 2 token types, it just runs 1 token type, and then relies on Celestial Reflection to get a large portion of the other. Which is, to me, a pretty significant sign that it's actually going to be incredibly difficult to get this amount of tokens to use this card, especially with, once again, this is another card that I have not shown. Under the Dreadful Moon and Stand Against Darkness are both being nerfed, so that they are not bloating up the token economy as much. So I legitimately think that even though this card will most likely see play in every single Chaos deck, I don't think Chaos is going to be a strong archetype right out of the gate, because we're not really in what I would classify as a Beyond meta right now. I've seen lots and lots of games where the Beyond unit really isn't played that much, and Chaos obviously does better when there is Beyond units around, just based on how Remnant Bonnie is designed. I would consider this to be a 2 to borderline 1-star card. I think the waste effect is too good for it actually to end up being 1-star, but I just think the prep is going to be too significant to deal with. Also, the prep, I don't think this card can ever actually see play in actual fire decks. The token requirement is just too significant for those decks to ever incorporate. But 2 burnout count, not that 2 burnout counters is 2 burnout counters is significant for any deck. It basically like dooms one of your opponents if you pull it off. And it also has the specification that you target 1 enemy unit, then spend your tokens. So if they decide to hidden it, or in the shadows it, or whatever the fuck, it's not going to absolutely cripple you by making you spend all your tokens. And then for nothing, you know what I mean? Because similar to cards like Feasting Ritual, or Too Close, where you have to put all your money in, and then if your opponent stops it, they get a lot more value. It's not like that in this case, because again, they hidden your Chaos Flame, it sucks, but you're not losing all the tokens in the process. But still, again, as I'm saying, very minorly a 2-star card, in my opinion. Dreadful Resurrection. What's your opinion, Don?
Plus 10 dread tokens, deploy something from your unit, 0% better than your Endless Halls. I don't know. I think this might just be a better way to get out, like a burn trap. Like, even if your burn trap thing is dead, it might be like just a second chance at like getting your engine going. Does the security breach have to be on the board?
Target 1 security breach unit, so yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, alright.
Friendly or enemy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think security breach units are fairly common just because there's a lot of, like, you know, ones that are running every deck, like Costume Mimic or
oh yeah,
stuff
this
like
card's
that.
gonna make Costume Mimic. Yeah, keep going. I'll just say, if this card was popular, it would make Costume Mimic really cry.
Yeah, Costume Mimic and players stonks are going down. Alright, let's move on.
What's your star ranking?
Oh, fuck, I almost forgot. I'll say like 3 stars because it will see playing body decks.
So Dreadful Resurrection is a 8% 10 dread token, 4 revenges in one. Which is pretty huge, obviously, being able to revenge 4 units at once in each one of your entrance halls. But it does come with the obvious pretty huge upfront cost of 10 dread tokens. That's enough dread tokens to complete your glitch trap / burn trap summon all on its own. Like, the deck already struggles a lot with getting it, because you want enough dread tokens to activate, but to activate, to actually be able to summon burn trap. And then you want enough, yeah, and then you want enough dread tokens to actually make the devastation do any damage when burn trap gets summoned for the first time. And then if you also wanted to run this card too, you need another 10 on top of that for the big thing. But is the 10 dread tokens spent here, well, worth it? Well, obviously in a dedicated Bonnie Tribe deck, it's only 5 dread tokens to actually do this card, which in that case I would consider it to be very well worth it. So, in fact, I think this card is honestly just a little bit disgustingly powerful in Bonnie Tribe decks, enough to where I would consider it to be a 4-star card, because I believe Bonnie Tribe decks will be about an A-tier deck with this card. With this card. But I think those Bonnie Tribe decks will most likely be actually not running Burn Trap. It's possible. That's kind of a bit of a hard sell, because I legitimately think that the combo is so beneficial at getting rid of very popular things in the metagame, like Help Eyes, or Costume Mimics, or Roxy's, or that people might actually legitimately run Burn Trap just as another way to remove. But to be frank, it's kind of hard to use this card for the combo effect when the prep is so good. Again, I cannot stress enough how crazy it is to be able to revenge 4 things at once from the graveyard. Is it situational?
The big boost in the end game.
Exactly. Is it situational? Is it more difficult to set up than it's difficult to set up, obviously. Getting the 10 dread and having 4 Bonnies in your graveyard is a tough ask. It's not happening anytime soon. But I think it's just the type of power that Bonnies probably need. I would consider this to be about a 4-star card.
Awesome. Alright.
Ferocious Spirit.
couldn't let staff thoughts have the 3 attack, so I get it. I think this might be really good in like, what do you call them? Fucking domain decks,
Yeah.
where you need to like keep that thing on top. It will be really interesting to see if that works out. I also like the instant. I think it's really good, and might see a lot of play in Timber, just
Right.
because you can get like a lot of extra turns.
Yeah, that is actually. But I don't think the instant is going to be that crazy in Timber, because the 0% spell cost is only for security breach. But it's not a bad idea, to be frank.
Or just run Freddy and something. I don't know. There's enough to do. There's the instance like maybe in like a DJMM deck. I don't know.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
Just having extra turns is just really good. Especially since the past card that used to give yourself an extra turn was like 8% battery.
Yeah, it was like 7 to 8% battery. Yeah, they didn't even have instant speed.
It was just preparation. Yeah, exactly.
What is your star ranking?
I'll give it another 3 stars. I don't think it'll see that. I don't think it'll see like unanimous play, but I think it'll see enough play in a certain kind of deck that.
Alrighty. So for Ferocious Spirit, the obvious applications for this card is that they be placed into security breach decks to give them a bit more oomph. Either for doing it for DJ Music Man, because he already wants to claim the generator with security breach units, or being used with Eclipse, since Eclipse wants to exile himself and also wants to, that's primarily it, because Eclipse wants to exile himself and he's a medium, or maybe even for people who want to run the dedicated ruins more. There's just so many things that this card does support in security breach, as well as, I would say that's probably about to the extent of where the card actually ends up going. 3 attack is a significant attack bonus, but movement is really the stat where you get the ball rolling. And so 3% to gain 3 attack is really not all that significant for pretty much any other archetype that doesn't care about getting their units exiled. In fact, most other archetypes don't want to get their units exiled. The fact that it's medium only means that it doesn't actually fit into Frost either, which is like one of the only other archetypes that does want to get their own units exiled for the sake of their domain. And for like your dedicated Dread decks, like in your dedicated Dread decks, Bonnies don't want it because they're probably going to want to build up for their Dreadful Resurrection, and the prep effect is not strong enough for it to be see play in there. For Freddies also don't want to exile stuff that they're doing, mostly because number 1, Freddies are mostly large, and number 2, because they mostly want to resurrect their stuff with Dreadbear. So it's just like, and Timber is also is a good idea for this one, I would say. It just sucks that it's not movement. If it was movement, this card would be really, really good in Timber, because most of the security breach units already have significant movement stats or have good ways to move around. But Timber does not. But, so I think, but where does Security Breach currently lie in the metagame? Well, Security Breach is currently around, I would say, an A-tier deck, depending if you're playing for the DJ Music Man stuff or for Max. Yeah, exactly. DJ Music Man, I would say, is definitely a lot better than Max right now, and he is pretty disgustingly good, to be frank, with a very powerful stand against darkness. I would consider this card to be about a 4-star card, because I still think that DJ Music Man will be about A tier, and the fact that it's also going to see play in Eclipse and with any deck that's trying to run the Max and Ruins, that it simply would be too good to not include. But basically like an auto include in literally any Security Breach deck. Anything beyond that though is probably not happening, but Security Breach is a pretty popular and a pretty good archetype right now. Longing for You. What's your opinion, Don?
I think the prep is really good. Um, I think the combo is just okay because I don't think water is that popular right now. But if water got like, if this would be something I would have probably in the main deck, like to it's just one more big spell that I can get really cheap with Ancient Memories Forgotten. And yeah, that's what I'm seeing it as. And then maybe like I'd use the combo if I was running it against water.
That's fair. What's your opinion on your star ranking?
I think Deception's already pretty good, so I'll say 4 stars.
That's fair. I will say basically that, yeah, I think Donnie's pretty much right on the money for this one. It's a card that would probably be... Now, it is... Deception does have a large room in how it is played right now, between which babies are run. Heartsick and Boiler don't have nearly as much support as base Ol Circus Baby, but base Ol Circus Baby actually doesn't see that much play. It's kind of debatable. There's just a whole... You could start a whole entire war based on which baby is best to run in Deception. I think this card is more evidence to run Original Baby over anything else. But who knows if that's actually the best way to play Deception. I would still consider it to be about a 4-star card if the Circus Baby original stands prevail in play. But if Heartsick overtakes her, then I would consider this to be about a 2-star card. Only being put in the side deck for the water matchup. But I believe in the Circus Baby stands. My final answer be about a 4-star card.
Let's go!
Mask Off.
This is what happens when I get racist on Twitter. I get
not...
no sleep and I take the mask off.
That's what the point of the mask is.
It's so real, honestly. Target one friendly unit was one of this tribe that I used. Also gains 2 attack. That is pretty nice. I think this sees play in fire decks.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, you want to not be blocked in the office. And I think it also sees play just to make Pumpkin Rabbit a little bit better. So I'll say 4 stars.
That's fair.
Really, really cheap way to, you know, get fire a lot better, and a really cheap way to make Pumpkin Rabbit a lot better. So, yeah, 4 stars.
I would say that's pretty much right on the money as well. The only other place that I would consider this card to be a part of is in FNAF 1. I think it's a pretty decent card for any of the FNAF 1 units, obviously, to make stuff ready, gain stuff ready from attacking the office, and also because they usually all come with... I think particularly, this is a card that would be played in a FNAF 1 deck that is more oriented around Show Stage FNAF 1. Because they can get a shit ton of movement, and then they can gain a bunch of attack, and then their attacks can't be blocked, or one of their attacks can't be blocked. And that's pretty significant, especially if you get Freddy Fazbear buffed the fuck up. Like, that's like 13 damage to an opponent, and you summon stuff Freddy. Like, that would be pretty insane. I think it's also probably decent in most offensive small decks. Things that really want to take advantage of mini arenas and whatnot, because having, like, 8 to 10% unblockable is pretty significant. Basically what I'm saying is that there's a lot of potential for this card. However, I think that it's generally going to be outclassed by Straight for the Head, and...
I think they're both going to be run, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it's difficult to know if they...
Although I think I like this card more than Straight for the Head, just because it's cheaper.
Yeah, that's fair. And as for the instant effect for Pumpkin Rabbit, it is... 5 movement is just an insane amount of movement, to be frank. Because it's
just disgusting.
It allows Pumpkin Rabbit to go to hit Office. And if you do hit Office with this card, with Pumpkin Rabbit, you're going pretty insane. Like, yes, you're spending 10% to deal 8, but obviously, like, the pumpkin rabbit doesn't die if you successfully hit the office, so it's still an active threat on the field. It can do it again, you know?
Exactly.
So, what is my star ranking for it? I think that this card, though, is going to see... This is going to be my first 3-star. My main reason why is because I do think that Straight for the Head is better, because as I mentioned before, I do think generally that movement is more important than attack. It'll be a lot easier for fire decks to be 4 spaces away than 2 spaces away from somebody's office. And the extra battery cost is not that much of a problem, because if you hit the the opponent's office once, you're most likely going to be dooming them for the rest of the game by giving them a burnout counter. So I think fire decks are going to be far more willing to spend 3% extra for Straight for the Head. Not that they can't run both, but that's the reason why I'm giving it a 3-star, because I think Straight for the Head is going to be, spoiler, 4-star, because it's always going to see play, but this one is going to have a harder time to find room in dedicated fire decks. The other reason why is because, while I do think that the instant effect does make Pumpkin Rabbit incredibly strong, Pumpkin Rabbit himself has seen a real dip in usage after his nerf to have a range, because he was disgusting before, where Bon is most likely... They usually don't run both. And Pumpkin Rabbit is even worse because Full Family, or Happy Family, exists, and also makes it really difficult for him to take one of the large/gargantuan spots in most Vault and File Corpse decks. So it's just like... It's hard to justify putting it in there just for the instant, because 2-card combos have to be really, really good, or have to be not so specific in order to see play. Like, for example, Rabbit is Starving can be really frustrating a lot of the times, because you just don't get Banny and you don't get the fodder. That's a 3-card combo in that case. But it's just... I don't know. I basically say 3-star because I don't think it'll always be fit in fire decks, maybe, and I don't think Pumpkin Rabbit is all that good right now. And I don't know if this card can necessarily get him out of his run.
Okay.
Mimic You.
That counter effect is gonna be a bitch to program. That's all I gotta say.
Not really. All you have to do is just like copy the opponent's card.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's true. Maybe I was overestimating. Yeah.
For the most part, your counter effect
this is a good. I think it's a good card. I don't know. I think, will it be enough to, like, really... Will I find room in my Endo deck to fit this in? Probably. I think the whole, like, you know, Blackbird shit is kind of a meme. So I would rather do Mimic You and really focus on Endos rather than putting in Sin cards. So I would, I think this is good. I think this is a good card. I'd say Endo decks aren't that good, so I'll say 3 stars.
Yeah. I would also say I didn't make a tier list yet for this set. I might post a tier list in the server before we release this update. But no, I do not think Endos are very good right now. I think they're about a C tier deck. So yeah, I don't think that they are very good right now, and I do think that this card does have potential, because it is basically you get to add any card from your opponent's graveyard to any unit from your opponent's graveyard to your hand, which is pretty significant. It's a lot worse now that Nightmare Fedbear and Nightmare are not so generalized anymore. And it's also a little bit worse because a lot of cards aren't so generalized anymore. Like Help Eye is not so generalized anymore, where it's good to copy every single time. But there are still a lot of good things out there, like Costume Mimics, or Billies, or fucking even just like Withered units maybe, that are decent to have in your hand. It just really depends on the matchup. Right now, what's popular in the metagame is a lot of Dread stuff, and a lot of I would say the dread stuff is the stuff that's most aggressively overpowered, but that's going to be tampered down a little bit with one of the dreadful moves. There's not a lot of sin in this metagame at the high end. Blob is pretty much about it, but Blob usually runs like... in a metagame where Blob is seeing a lot of play, I think this card would be fairly decent in Endo decks. Long story short, I think it's 3-star. I don't think Endos are not receiving the support to go beyond a C tier deck. Actually, it might even almost be 2-star, honestly, because I don't think Endos are that good. Because I would consider...
It's the Bibles, though!
Yeah. I'm trying to think here for a second. And I would consider I would consider a deck that's not even D tier to be a 1-star card. So I would consider decks that are D to C tier to be about 2-star. And the point of the matter is that I don't think it's that crazy. I don't think it's gonna elevate Endos that far. I'll just say my final answers. I generally think it's gonna be about like a 3-star card.
Alright.
Paper Pals. How significant do you think this nerf is gonna be? Currently, it's a 5-star card.
I think it'll just get knocked down to 4 stars. You'll see play in the decks that really need them, like the ones that run Swamp and Staff Bot or whatever. But yeah, 4 stars.
The past animatronics. We could almost wrap these up all into one, but I think there is actually.
I can't rank them without knowing what the room is or how that works.
The room doesn't have really any correlation. The room just makes it so if a unit is in that room, you can deploy. You can look at the bottom card of your deck, and if it has the same tribe as the unit in the room, you get to deploy it. Pretty much exactly just like the Pass You effect, but in room. So if I have a Jacko Moon in in the ball pit and I activate it, I can look at the bottom card of my deck, and if it is another Help Wanted unit, I can deploy it right next to my Jacko Moon for 0% battery.
That's nice.
I mean, like, yeah, it's like the room is generalized in that any archetype can use it. But the past animatronics just basically have that in them built into their kit for their past U abilities. But knowing that, what is your opinion on past bomb?
Do all of them wait? So it's only can Pit Bonnie get deployed through any past U effect?
Oh yeah. He just needs to be revealed or drawn from the bottom of the deck. So you can be revealed by any of them, or drawn from by any of them.
Oh, okay. So that, yeah, I think as an archetype, I think it'll be pretty fun. I don't know if it's game winning though. I'd say like maybe 3 stars.
I think you may have done every single card as 3. But
I'll say in the Bonnie deck, it would be fine. I don't know. If you updated like the Lost Memories to also like help this kind of deck, it might work. Where you can like send a unit from the bottom of the deck send this unit to the bottom of your deck. Send a unit card from the bottom to the bottom of your deck. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that I think would make the deck better. But as an archetype, I'd say like C, B tier, low B, high C.
So for the past animatronics, I think past Bonnie, in my opinion, gets about my opinion on past Bonnie is that he's really only good for Pit Bonnie, but I don't even think then he's really worth it, because since it requires a successful attack, and while there are a lot of cards that make the successful attack a bit easier, like straight for the head and whatnot, his 2 movement and low health really makes it difficult to make that happen. So I don't even know if he generally sees play in those decks. It might just be easier to run Ancient Memories Golden if you're trying to get your Pit Bonnie out. But I think he's the worst. I think even though he's the one who can get Pit Bonnie out for 0 instead of Pit Bonnie for 9, I still think he's the worst, just because he just doesn't do enough, and and it kind of reminds me of Timber, where he's a little bit too expensive, and he requires a little bit too much support to actually get anything done. As for Chica, I think she is a bit better. I think that she is so... Like, Dumpster Chaser matters a lot. Gaining movement matters a lot. So, being able to attack offices easier as a result is pretty significant. But the problem is that she just doesn't really get as much, I want to say, from hitting the office. Like, the Chica... Like, will she see play in a dedicated Chica deck? That's hard to answer, because Chicas, right now, are already a fiercely competitive archetype for which chickens they actually bring to the deck.
Right, exactly.
So, it's tough to say whether or not she would get a slot, because, like, right now she would be competing with, like, Scorching and Glamrock, and, those are the big mediums right now. And is she better? I don't think she's better than Glamrock, even though she's so similar. I think she's probably better than Scorching at this point. But even Scorching doesn't make it in sometimes. So it's really, really, really hard to say. I think she could do some... Is the battery discount so good that people... Well, I mean, like, to be frank, Chica's already kind of a little bit aggressive thanks to Rockstar. So she might be able to make it. I considered Bonnie to be like a 2-star card, because I think general decks that are going to be going for Pit Bonnie are going to be left wanting a little bit. Because while having the 4 movement Golden Victory unit is crazy, and especially after the Fredbear nerf, it's just going to be a little bit too unreliable. I think Chica might be able to make it in. So I'd say past Bonnie's about a 2, I'd say past Chica's about a 3. Past Freddy, on the other hand, I think this card might be a 5-star. Because I think that this is definitively, like, going to be the medium Freddy for Freddy decks. Without a doubt.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. The March of the Bears is wild.
Yeah. There's just...
it's crazy.
He is crazy. I think he's definitely going to make Junior Freddy obsolete in most Freddy deck builds, and he's going to make Toy Freddy obsolete if either of them were going to be run. Yes, he's a lot more expensive than them because he doesn't get a discount of any kind on his summon. So you're legit paying the 5 cost every single time. But the sheer value that you can get from the 5 cost is just too much to not offer. I think he's going to be seen play every Freddy deck. Freddy decks are already super meta right now. And I think this card definitely helps with that. So I would consider this to be honestly a 5-star card. First true 5-star. Peaceful Dreams. What is your opinion, Don? Long story short, it gives them mercy, and it allows them.
It gives them mercy,
yeah.
And yeah.
Convert all.
Do I think this is enough to run a Nightmare deck with like tokens that like I'm trying to think if I want to run like both Final Peace and Peaceful Dreams in like one deck. I just don't see it being like amazing just because you have to run like a ton of Nightmares. I think it might be experimented with. I think this is where I have the most variability of being wrong, but I think it's going to be a 2-star card. I don't think it's going to be run that much, and I think it's just going to be a meme for one game and then not run it.
That's fair. I think... Yeah, that's fair.
It was real expensive. It's like 8%.
Yeah. This one's interesting to me. I think that it is... On the... Final Piece is obviously in a bad space right now. Is the answer to fix Final Piece giving them all of the Nightmare units as stuff that they can play so that they can have way more? Because right now Final Piece kind of has the problem where it doesn't have any actual units to play. It has like Lost Princess, it has like maybe Lefty if you would consider it, but even Lefty, it takes a while to get going because you have to get the Lefty, then you have to get the 20-wood Lefty, then you gotta wait 3 turns before you can actually remove something without destroying it. It's a lot. Or you can just play this one spell card, and now for the rest of the game, every Nightmare in your deck has Mercy, which makes it a lot easier And Nightmares are obviously Nightmares. They're big. They got stats on them. You're not going to get a discount, which really sucks. But you do get potential battery regen for your Dread token shenanigans. Now, how are you going to get Dread tokens in your deck, in your final piece? Peaceful Dreams deck. Well, some of the Nightmares have it built into them. Cupcake has it built into him. So does 20 Mode Nightmare. But that's probably a bit of a long shot. Help Me Count My Teeth has it built in. It's got potential, maybe. Because converting your Dread into Justice is significant. Gaining battery, because like you're not even losing the tokens, you're converting it. So you're going to keep those tokens. So if you want to Hoy that shit, or something along those lines, it's maybe.
Even better.
Yeah. But it's... I still would not consider it crazy. I would say this is a 2-star card. It will receive the experimentation. We will see if the Nightmares are enough of units, period, enough for Final Piece to actually see significant play. Because that's really the only archetype where this card matters. Because, like, obviously, not for anything else that the Nightmares are doing on their own. It's kind of like they're being enlisted. To see if they can actually do anything to support, to bail Final Piece out of their economic crisis. So... who knows if they'll be able to do it? I mean, being an economist is hard. Oh, anyway, the point is that 2-star. I don't know if it's actually gonna fix it. If it does fix it for them, awesome. Final Piece is a great archetype. If it doesn't, who would have guessed? Pit Bonnie. So here's the funny thing about Pit Bonnie's change. As he is right now, we currently changed Threadbare so that his Golden Victory only works if his name is Threadbare. But here's the problem. This is a card that counts its name as Spring Bonnie, but the Golden Victory only counts if his name is Spring Bonnie. Basically meaning that this card, in this state, is just better Threadbare for creation. Which was obviously the mistake. I was like, oh fuck, I can't do that, because...
ESB, his name is Pit Bonnie.
No, not that. Just that he has to have Spirit Locked. So he can't be creation. I want his name to count as Spring Bonnie so that he can work with all the golden lures and Ancient Memory Goldens. And anything else and Golden Birthday. There's just too many Spring Bonnie support to exist for him to be completely excluded from that. So, the actual version of Pit Bonnie that will be in the game does have Spirit Locked. He cannot be used as creation material.
How do you get him to the bottom? What if you just draw him regularly? Are you just fucked?
A little bit. There might be other ways to get him to the bottom of the deck. But yeah, I would consider the Pit Bonnie archetype right now to be... 2-star. He's going to be played with because he's a part of the newest game, but as of right now, doesn't have enough cards to really be a distinguished archetype until he gets just a bit more help. You got things like fucking, I'm trying to see here. You can pink slip him back into your deck and all that other nonsense, or you can it's just gonna be a lot harder than you think to get him to actually work, but when he does work, it's gonna be very nice. But yeah, I think it's gonna be 2-star. I think it's a bit weak right now.
Alright.
Remnant Bonnie.
I just think with how Beyonds are right now, just not the best. So I'll say Chaos can be an archetype, but I'm not going to say it's going to be a good archetype.
Yeah.
I'll say it's like a 2-star card.
Yeah. I do like Remnant Bonnie, but right now, yeah, this is not a Beyond meta right now. Where they're that important. So I don't think he's going to be all that crazy. I don't think Chaos is going to be the worst thing in the world. I think it's going to be better than the Pit Bonnie stuff in this set. It's going to be a lot. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to play, honestly. But I don't think it's going to be...
I know where I'm going to run this guy.
Yeah.
I wonder if you'll find out, if you can guess what archetype I'm going to run this in, but we'll see.
I'm excited. I'm excited for the Remnant Bonnie return, honestly. Woodland goes crazy, by the way, with this card. Gaining attack power from your Dread, Justice, and Sin. assuming you have enough of that. Woodland hits like a fucking truck with this card as their Beyond unit. But is that enough to actually have him see play? If Woodland gained that attack bonus when attacking offices, maybe. But he doesn't. I just think that Woodland's going to be a part of every Chaos deck, period.
That's right. Shadow Freddy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Shadow Freddy. Yeah, I mean, he's still going to see play in Eclipse decks. He's still going to be... That's about it. It's really the only... He might... I always consider Shadow Freddy in Timber. Too.
Oh, alright.
But, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Straight for the head.
Straight for the head.
Honestly, I don't want to say 5-star. I would give it a very, very high 4-star for this card, honestly. I think it is very significant for a lot of archetypes.
Yeah. I think, best with fire and just, like, comboing, that into, what do you call it? The other effect, the prep effect.
Yeah.
Of Pumpkin Rabbit card, Mask Off. Yeah, I just think that would be really good.
Oh yeah, you could drop a Pumpkin Rabbit straight into somebody's vent anyway, just this card. Pretty crazy. It's this card's...
I'm talking about the prep effect.
Oh, the prep, yeah. Yeah, this card's bonkers. But a good kind of bonkers. It's basically like, it just gives a lot of decks that needed the gas to hit the office, the gas they need to hit the office. Like, like the Pip Bonnie stuff is a lot better because of this card. And pretty much any archetype that actually wants to be offensive and big aggro support. But aggro is like not really a thing in the FNAF card game right now. So that's why something this powerful needs to be printed.
Yep, I agree.
Tiny Adventure?
I just like I think maybe it would be good in like endo decks and like dedicated smalls and what do you call it, staff bottom.
Yeah, I think Staff, Frost, and Endos will see the most benefit from Tiny Adventure. But those are three different archetypes in 3 different places. I would consider Staffbots to still be around A-tier deck. Frost to be in its current state. Frost is not very good. Same for Endos, but this card is pretty significant support for pretty much all 3 of them. So
For sure.
I would say about a 4-star card in my opinion. I think this is going to see a lot of play.
I'll say 3 stars, but okay.
Toxic Sewer.
It might be what water needs, but it also might give. It's like often deserves, not what it needs. Or something. I don't know. I really think that having it claim Gen is gonna go crazy. And it's gonna be what the water decks need to just push them over the edge. We'll see if it is. I'm gonna say 4 stars though.
I would also agree. Yeah, it's pretty much what water decks needed. They needed something beyond Felix to really seal the deal, and something that was a bit more reliable than trying to go for like 3 to 4 card combos on Piranha. Because that was just too unreliable. Toxic is nice and reliable. So yeah. Twisted Abyss.
I like this card. I like this card a lot. It's probably my favorite card in the set. War Creek's Paw Gang, I know. I'll say like around. I think even though it's really good, I'll say it's still 5 or 4 stars.
Nice. I'll still give it, you know, the highest rank.
I'll still give it the highest ranking. I think it's still 4. I really like it.
I give personally Twisted Abyss a 5-star ranking. Twisteds are already very strong right now. And this card gives them like super heavy graveyard denial. You can be so aggressive with your Twisted decks with this card out because you just get everything back for cheap. Card kind of go crazy. Like, why print this if Twisted are good right now? Well, it's because the main reason why is because it was a cool concept. Number one, and number two,
The art was
it was cool. Art was cool. So that's why Twisted Abyss was printed, even though Twisteds are in a good place right now. But in reality, it's like Twisteds might be good, but they don't really have. They were mainly good just because Glare was overpowered, and Glare's been nerfed for them. So
yeah.
I would consider them to be like about like a B tier deck to like a bottom A tier deck, where they just exist. They don't really have like a concrete identity. This card was printed to try and give them more of a concrete identity, so that they can continue. Because like you can do some crazy with this and Twisted Vengeance and just everything else. You can do some crazy ass shit with Twisted Unit. So I do generally consider this to be a 5-star card. I do think that they will be a proper top-of-the-line A-tier deck with this new domain. Mostly just because of how much it's going to fuck up everybody else's game strategies when you exile everything in their graveyards, or you try to exile everything in their graveyards.
For sure.
To be fair, this card does have a pretty significant weakness to Under the Dreadful Moon, since if it tries to go on top of an Under the Dreadful Moon, it'll immediately get exiled for like 3 Dread tokens. So, for all those Under the Dreadful Moon stonks, you're still looking high.
Exactly.
And last but not least, we have the new 20 mode unit. 20 mode Nightmare Chica. She comes with 2 new abilities. Her Nightmare Fury. During combat, this unit deals 2 more damage. If this unit successfully attacks an opponent's office, it deals 10% more damage. And Devil's Confection. When this unit is deployed, you may deploy any unit from your hand, deck, or graveyard that has Cupcake in its name on an adjacent room to this unit. Additionally, all friendly units with Cupcake in their name have 3 more movement and attack as long as this unit have 3 more movement and attack as long as this unit remains in the field. A little bit of a typo. But yeah, that is 20 mode Nightmare Chica right there. A pretty simple upgrade into a bigger form, but as more Cupcake cards get printed for the game, this card, obviously, its potential will continue to grow.
Yeah, I'm thinking there's like 2, right? And one's a token unit.
Yeah, one's a token and the other one's Nightmare Cupcake right
now. This just reminds me of like, oh, that makes me want to make that box card. Just like all Nightmare 20 modes can be deployed without their respective part.
Oh. Yeah, a little bit. There might be something for all the 20 mode Nightmares at some point. All the 20 mode, we're getting close to currently all the Wizards and all the Nightmares having their 20 modes. For the Wizards, we're missing Bonnie and Freddy. And for the Nightmares, we're missing Foxy and I think Bonnie again. Bonnie's kind of gotten the short end of the stick for 20 modes, actually. What was the last Bonnie 20 mode? Was it Toy Bonnie?
Toy Bonnie, I think.
That's crazy. Yeah, Bonnie's probably overdue for one. Well, it's been a while since we had a last Chica one, too, which is why I think we got this form. But which is why we got this card. Also, because the art was badass.
That art is badass, for sure.
Thank you to all the wonderful artists that exist out there that make
We
the
can
crazy
rip
shit.
up this shit.
Exactly. Like, because I sure as shit could not draw this. But yeah, that is it for this. There's a couple of things that I can't showcase here because I don't have them right now. But we pretty much went over everything for this next set. So I am excited to play with all of y'all once again once we get to it.
Oh
Yeah.
shit!
What?
Fuck. Pink slip stonks for I was like, how am I gonna get fucking Pit into the deck? Like, it's gotta be pink slip. It's gotta be pink slip.
I thought I said that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it's like, oh, you can pink slip them back in.
Oh, well, I'm a fucking loser.
You can also like, I don't think Pit Bonnie will be very good. But I do think that there's a lot of room to support him because of all of the ancient memories shenanigans that will exist in possibly the near future. There's like a big there's like a term in Yu-Gi-Oh for a Garnet, which is like a card that you absolutely do not want to draw, but you want it in your deck.
Right.
And Pit Bonnie's gonna be the biggest Garnet of the entire game.
Pretty much, yeah.
Do not want to draw him under any circumstances, but you do want him in the deck because the 9-8-4 movement you win the game, guys, pretty significant. But yeah, anyways, see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.